James.
Not David, somebody else.
Why is it not David?
Because it's D codes or D3 codes.
Oh yeah, I forgot to change that, didn't I? Discord, it ruined the surprise.
You ruined the surprise. And I've since gone and
Dang
checked
it.
everywhere else. And it's the same everywhere.
Okay, I guess, can we jump to that topic first then?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Kind of have to now.
I have to. It's a very long roundabout story. So, as you're aware, I have a domain, freeman.software, and that's like my personal website.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate it because it's way too long. Freeman.software does not sound like a good website. .software is a terrible TLD. It's way too long. It sounds made up. I don't
Plus,
like
people don't even say software anymore.
That's true. It should be like .codes or something.
Oh, no.
Anyway. So, first of all, my last name is too long for a website, and .software is too long for a TLD. And I have been trying so hard to find a good, like, kind of personal, but could also be more professional kind of website to use for emails and everything else. And what I have started leaning into more in the last couple years is a nickname that my grandparents gave me when I was born, because I'm technically the third, right? Like, I'm named after my father and he's named after his father. So I'm David Freeman the third. And my grandparents always called me D3. Which honestly, growing up, I hated. I didn't like being defined by just like being related to my dad and my grandfather. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But anyway, I like it a lot more now because it's short, and my grandparents are still pretty much the only ones that call me that. But also, I sing with a chorus in town who my grandfather was like one of the very early members of.
Oh, wow.
In the 70s. And then my dad sang with them, and then he got me to sing with them. So I still sing with them, and there's still like a couple people left that sang with my grandfather as well.
Wow, that's
so
amazing.
They also call me, yeah, but they also call me D3 because I'm the third David they've sung with.
Huh.
Anyway, so I liked that a lot. I was like, D3 is great. That's so short. It's almost too short for a website, though, because, you know, websites that are only a few characters are considered premium domains and are usually very, very, very expensive.
Oof, yeah, those prices can get crazy.
Yeah. And most of them, like, I don't even know what I was looking at. Simpler ones, like .com or whatever, it was like $16,000 for D3 dot something. But D3 dot codes, amazingly, was like $80 compared to the thousands for everything else.
Nice. Okay.
And I've seen that, and I've looked at it for probably a year at least, and considered buying it. I've never been a huge fan of the .codes top level domain, but I know like Guy Rambo uses it. Rambo.codes is like his personal blog website. So I eventually pulled the trigger on it here a couple weeks ago, and I bought D3.codes. And my initial idea was I could start building kind of an identity or kind of a personal brand around D3 dot. And what I was going to do was have like my Twitter was going to be D3 dot tweets or whatever, and things like that.
That sounds like it would get too confusing too quickly?
It could have. That was not my concern. But luckily, there was other roadblocks in the way that made it so I couldn't do that. What I found out was most websites and things I wanted to update my accounts on don't like a period in your username. So I couldn't do that. And then I was really disappointed, especially when it came to Twitter. And I don't remember if Twitter was one that didn't allow periods or that was already taken. But I had to rethink what I was going to do for that. And I think it was not allowed because I could do an underscore. So I was thinking maybe I could do D3 underscore tweets, but then that gets a little even more confusing to remember where I used a dot or an underscore. And then I thought, what if I just removed the dot and I had D3 codes? And it was only at that point, as I was typing into the Twitter username handle, that I actually read it all the way through and realized that it reads D codes in LEET. And then I was like, this is incredible. What an amazing coincidence. This has to be my new handle everywhere.
It took you, 12 months of thinking about registering that domain name and then actually doing it and then going to make a Twitter account to notice it?
I never realized it.
Took me all of 2 minutes, David.
Well, reading it now, it's very obvious.
I guess you were looking at it with the dot that entire time.
Right.
But it's hard to excuse it all the same.
Well, I think I was very proud of myself after that. I was like, it's accidental, but this is very clever. And this is what I have to use everywhere from now on.
Accidental
because
genius.
Exactly. It's I don't know. I think it's a good middle ground between it could be used for my personal stuff and it could be professional or whatever, and that will all be fine. And I'm very happy with it as a domain.
So is the distinction going to be in a professional environment and also your grandparents, you're going to just say it's D3 codes, and then if you're on the internet or on 4chan or whatever, you're going to be D codes?
Maybe. I think for the most part, if I'm having to tell someone my email address or my Twitter handle or whatever, I'm always going to say it's D3 codes, because otherwise if I just say D codes, no one's going to know to find me.
And you don't want to say
codes with a 3 for the E.
Exactly. You don't want to say that.
But there's 2 E's, so it's only the first E.
Right, okay.
So it's always D3 codes.
Yeah.
But I could imagine a situation, not that I'm a gamer or a streamer, but it's if I was a streamer and my Twitch handle was D3 codes, I could imagine in a group setting people would call me D codes, but that's not a situation I'm ever going to be in.
Maybe one day when you pivot this podcast towards a game streaming thing.
Yeah. Anyway, so I did that, and part of creating a new website, I wanted to get away from. I've been paying for I don't know what the technical word is. I register. I buy all my domains and manage them through Namecheap. I like them quite a bit, but I don't know what I'd call that. A domain provider or whatever.
Domain registrar?
Sure. And one of the things you can do with them is when you buy a domain, you can pay an extra few bucks a month to have email managed through them. And that's what I've always done for my Freeman.software websites and other ones I've got registered. But for this, I decided I would try to do the custom email domain through iCloud.
Ooh, right. Yeah, the one thing I want to do and can never do for my own domain. Unless I change the domain name.
Well, it's very, very seamless. I'll say that. I didn't know what to expect once I actually did it. If it was going to create a second inbox in my mail app or anything. But it's just that everything Like any emails sent to my new D3 Codes email address, it just gets like kind of forwarded straight to my iCloud email, but it's in the same inbox, but I can send and receive emails from my D3 Codes email, if that makes sense.
Right, and if you respond to an email that was sent to D3 Codes, the from address is D3 Codes.
Right, but it's like all just in one inbox.
Could you separate them if you want to, or would you have to make like a smart inbox in that case?
I assume I'd have to do a smart inbox or something because I was not presented with that option when I was setting it up. But setup is straightforward if you know what you're doing. It's just like adding a few DNS records. But I could see where even that statement of you need to add a few DNS records would be confusing to most people.
Yeah, probably. Although if they have already created a custom domain, they've probably come across that already and at least have an inkling of where to start.
Right.
And if they have just had someone set it up for them, then they're probably just going to send the job to that person as well.
Yeah, that's fair. So I don't have any website or anything if you go to my domain, but I at least own it now.
I kind of created custom email domain in iCloud with a few asterisks on that. So with my own domain, because I can never actually add it to iCloud because it was in an existing Apple ID, which is now deleted. So I just, my registrar let me add DNS records that forwards all email that was sent to that domain to my @me address. And so they end up in the same inbox. So from that side of the workflow, it's kind of the same. But of course, I can never send from that domain unless I set up the account in Mail somehow.
That's such a silly limitation that they've made.
They do spell out the warning. I just didn't see it. But
right.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Well, way to ruin the surprise, James.
You could hardly blame it on me as you jump into the voice channel with D3 Codes as your username, if that's not something to point out.
Did you only just notice as I logged in, or had you known going into this?
No, you were already online, so I'd already seen it, and then I went to Twitter and I, like my Safari address bar pre-filled an existing tweet of yours once I typed in /JE, and then I hit return, and it went to D3 Codes, so then I pieced it all together. He's changed his identity.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry, anyway, for ruining a surprise. I mean,
it's fine.
it's a topic anyway, right? It doesn't really matter too much. We've talked about it.
We're out of order now.
We're out of order.
Me off for the whole show.
All right, let's do the whole show backwards. So, predictions for the iPhone event coming up.
We still have another show between now and the iPhone event.
I know, and if you were monitoring the note very closely, you would have seen that topic come and go from the note because I was reconsidering if we should talk about it or not. And in the end, I have put it in there because the next show, I mean, obviously it's closer to the event, and it's more likely we'll have concrete rumors about what this iPhone will be, which kind of makes some of our predictions moot or makes them a bit more, it'll be easier to guess.
You're hoping that if we do the predictions now, you'll have more of a chance of actually winning.
No, I've got no chance. It doesn't matter when we do it. I've yet to win one of these.
I will say that there hasn't been much talk recently that I've seen about the new iPhones. It seems like there's a lot of rumors earlier in the year, but it seems like it's actually quieted down the closer we get to the event. Yeah,
that's my feeling too. Yeah, was certainly a trickle of stuff, ever since the previous iPhone was released, basically. But there's been no waterfall yet.
Right. And I certainly don't have a lot of unique thoughts outside of just like combining all the rumors from the last 6 months. Like I think we know the notch is changing on the Pro phones to the, I'm calling it an eye, but I think the pill / cutout or whatever people are going to call it, I think that's pretty confirmed. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so just the Pro phones will get the Infinity O. I think that was Samsung's term for the single camera cutout. So we'll have an Infinity Eye. How about that? Or
Infinity Eye.
Infinity Pill and Infinity O. Whatever the case, the Pro phones are going to get more screen. They have to. As I think I said years ago, if Apple hadn't done it next year, then they're falling way behind the competition, and it's 2022 and we will only probably get it this year. I think it's well overdue. And I'm kind of shocked that we lived with a notch for so long.
All right, so the /dot of the cutout is technically the letter N in Morse code. So what do you think that stands for, James? Notch. That's letting you know that's where the notch is supposed to be.
It's /dot is an N. Okay, that's news to me. N for November, which is when the phones are going to be available.
It's going to be another iPhone 10 situation where you got to wait 2 months.
Yeah, you can get the iPhone non-Pro straight away, and then the Pro, they're signaling November.
There you go. If you look at it upside down, though, like .- is A, and that's very obviously for Apple. So maybe you're supposed to hold it upside down.
Yeah, it could be the iPad situation. Doesn't really matter which way you hold it anymore. I mean, recent versions of iOS have allowed Face ID to work sideways, so what's stopping it from being upside down? I mean, the iPad does it.
You've got it.
Yeah.
iPad's done it since the very first model. That was like its big selling point.
All the FaceTime calls are going to be like up nose and chin view or neck view from now on if the camera's down the bottom.
I don't think that. How close do you hold your phone when you're taking a FaceTime call? Because mine would be like almost at arm length, where I don't think it would make much of a difference where the camera is on the screen.
When I'm FaceTiming, there's nearly always a gaggle of children on my lap trying to get into the FaceTime call. So my phone is as far away from us as possible. So arm's length at a minimum. If I had gadget arms, I'd use them.
Something that I've done in the past, and it's not something I've had to do as much in the last few years since I've moved closer to my parents. But when we lived a few hours away, when the kids wanted to FaceTime my parents, I would mirror the phone's screen to the TV, and then I'd set the phone up in front of it so that they could stand back and see Grandma and Popo on the TV, but they wouldn't have to be right on top of the phone to talk to them.
That's a great idea.
If only you hadn't sold your Apple TV.
Well, it's too early to segue into my next topic, but I will have an ultra-wide camera shortly.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, we got too many iPhone predictions to get through.
Hey, we really are doing the show backwards? All right, cool.
I mean, I wouldn't skip the topic now. We're halfway into the iPhone thing.
What's backwards anyway?
I'm very unprepared for all this, by the way. I've been doing a lot of traveling over the last couple weeks, and I usually have my daughter on Fridays, and I don't today, and so it did not feel like Friday to me. And I was in my basement unpacking and drinking, and I was suddenly got a notification on my phone that's like, you have a podcast in 30 minutes. I was like, oh crap.
All right, so we have David slightly lit in the room today, ladies and gentlemen.
I was like, this is a free night. I'd never have a free night. This is incredible. And then nope. James had to stomp all over my free time.
The old ball and chain coming out of the Discord for you.
It's a good thing I had notification for the podcast on my phone, or I would have completely left you hanging tonight.
Well, it's upsetting to hear how little thought you give this show during the week, and you really do rely on a calendar event to tell you about it.
I have a routine, and it was just very disrupted. That's all.
All right. Forgiven, but not forgotten.
All right. So I gave you the first iPhone prediction. Do you want to do the second one?
Sure. Lightning port, but it's going to be that high bandwidth or USB 3 Lightning port from the iPad Pro that we had back in I can't remember when. So it's still going to be Lightning even on the Pros, but the Pro phones only, I'll narrow that down to, will have USB 3 speeds via that Lightning port.
I have not heard anything to that effect at all, but I desperately want that. And I do think it is likely because my next prediction is that we're getting the 48 megapixel main sensor on the Pro phones so that we can do 8K video. And they have to do something to resolve the file transfer issue. So I think that while we're still waiting to get to USB-C, which I think is next year, the USB 3 Lightning port is a very good guess.
Thank you. So that's your prediction too. Do you think the non-Pro iPhones will get this super fast Lightning port or not?
No, I don't think they would. It seems like this year, I don't want to pile a bunch of guesses all at once, but I think it's pretty much a given at this point that only the Pro phones are getting a newer processor this year, or at least that's been heavily rumored.
It does feel like go on.
If the 14 gets the A16, or the 14 Pro gets the A16, and the 14 gets stuck with the A15 again, and they're really trying to differentiate those two, I could definitely see them not bothering putting a faster Lightning port on the base Model 14s.
Rumors definitely have a lot of differentiation this year, don't they? So that would be the fast Lightning port, the processor, most likely the 8K recordings only coming to the Pro phone, and that would mean high resolution photos also coming to the Pro phone probably, and not to the non-Pro phone. It's stacking up, especially compared to some previous years where the phones were almost like software limited differences only.
So do you think then, what do you think about the 48 megapixel camera? Is that happening? And do you think it's only the Pro phone, or where do you fall on that?
Yeah, there's not a lot of use for 8K stuff still. And and if they did it, I don't even think they would do it with their ProRes feature as well, because ProRes plus 8K, you need like 5 terabyte phones to record any meaningful amount of footage on that.
Right.
But at the same time, Samsung has had 8K recording for, 4 years now? And Apple has also had a 12 megapixel sensor in there for, 10 years? It's been a long, long time.
It's been a long time, yeah.
Despite all the other improvements, it's remained at 12 megapixels for seemingly forever. If you told me the original iPhone had a 12 megapixel sensor, I wouldn't have been surprised.
It had a VGA camera.
640 by 480, was it?
If that good, yeah.
Okay. So it's time to do something with the sensor to increase the resolution. And I wouldn't be shocked if it was 8K.
It seems like they've ridden the 12 megapixel sensor as far as it can go, and the 48 megapixel is just it's the minimum they need to get 8K. I think 40 megapixels is technically the minimum for 8K, but because of the way they scale, 48 would be the most logical choice. I don't know a lot about cameras. But yeah, 48 it sounds huge. Like in my mind, that would equate to a much bigger sensor, or at least a camera bump on the back of the phone, which is already way too big in my opinion. But how do those scale? Is that like a linear? Like 48 is literally 4 times bigger than 12, or what does that look like, James?
I mean, there could be a couple of variations, but most likely it's going to mean smaller pixels and not a bigger sensor. And so smaller pixels mean less light gathering per pixel. But then in turn, what they could do is 4 physical pixels equals 1 pixel in the photo. So despite having a 48 megapixel sensor, it doesn't mean you're getting a 48 megapixel image out of it, because that's kind of ridiculous for a sensor that size to like even be worth putting out an image of that resolution. So yeah, a large sensor allows 8K recording, but then the pixels are binned down to a lower resolution image.
Interesting. Okay. I think from some of the alleged mock-ups or renders that have leaked so far, it does look like the bump's getting a little bigger. Whether that's because of the sensor or anything else, I don't know. But they're going to need to rethink their camera layouts, because it is getting a little ridiculous at this point.
I like what the Pixel has done, which is to put like a strip across the back, because that camera bump getting any bigger, and the phone is starting to become, I mean, it already wobbles on the desk, obviously, because of the bump.
Right.
But soon you're going to need like special muscles in your wrist to stop it from like tilting over in your hand, right? It's going to be like a yacht on the water with something really heavy at the top of the mast.
I mean, they could do some work on the inside to put more internal weight towards the bottom to balance it out. As far as hand feel goes.
And the battery is the counterbalance, right?
Right. So I agree that with protruding cameras, the Pixel approach is very good. It's stable and it looks good. But I think, and this is even less likely, but looking forward to next year with the iPhone 15, there's been rumors that they're going to make the cameras much more flush again by using periscope lenses inside the phone body. And I don't know if that's, if that really is their goal, then this year might be kind of a holdover year where we get like the worst camera design of all until they're able to move a lot more of that lens assembly inside the body of the phone.
I don't really understand periscope lenses in terms of decreasing the size of the notch, because is there not just a mirror that's changing the light, so instead of coming directly onto the sensor, it's bouncing down the length of the phone, which is useful for like a telephoto shot. But if the sensor is now perpendicular to the phone, it seems like the least logical way to place it for a big sensor, especially.
So what if it's 2 mirrors? So you have the light coming in, it bounces off a mirror, goes through all the lenses, and then hits another mirror and goes into the sensor.
Oh, okay. So the sensor's actually facing away from the camera, the subject.
Or towards, but just inside the phone.
Seems like a lot of light being lost.
Do reflections lose light, or?
I believe so. I need to brush up on my physics, though.
Depends on how good of a mirror it is, I guess.
Yeah. And also a lot of air space inside the phone for light to bounce around.
Yeah, I don't know. They need to do something, though. So was that my prediction then? Are we on to you?
You're on to me, yeah. For the next one, which I totally have ready, it's right on the tip of my tongue, just struggling to think of the name of it.
I've got more if you want to think on it.
All right, go on then.
Okay. You're going to kick yourself because some of these are still obvious.
Oh, no. Wait, give me the first letter.
No,
I'm kidding. Go on.
The Pro phones are going to have always on displays.
Oh, of course. I mean, we've already talked about this. Doesn't even count. I should have gone through our show notes for the last few months.
There's another thing to differentiate the Pro phone. They're going to be very different this year. But I think the writing's on the wall for this. Like you said, we've talked about it multiple times already. It's basically already confirmed in some of the iOS leaks. There's going to be some form of always on display.
Basically a given, considering all the leaks and all the different versions of the wallpapers. And I mean, we got different refresh rates in the Pro phones last year. Just an expansion of that.
Yeah, I think currently the lowest is what is it?
It's 10 hertz
or something?
I think it's 10.
Well, I thought it was maybe the iPad Pro went down to 10, and for some reason the iPhone didn't, but I don't know. I know its refresh rates don't match some of the other devices, like the watch can get down to 1.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, the iPhone can go down to 10. Maybe it's the iPad can only go down to like 30 or something. So do you have another one now that I've taken an obvious one?
I am still struggling for anything. LiDAR? I don't know. Do they even have LiDAR? It's not really something I think about a lot.
They've had it since the 11 Pro.
All right, whatever then. All right, go on. Give me another one. You're just racking up points now.
All right. I think the base storage for the Pros are going to go up to 256 from 128. And there's going to be a price bump as well. And the Pro phones are going to start at a higher price than last year.
All right. I'm going to say the opposite of that.
Okay.
The Pro phones will start at 128 gigabytes.
Mm-hmm.
No change there. There we go. There's the point that levels the playing field.
Man, I think 2 seconds of 8K video is going to fill up a 128 gigabyte phone.
Yeah, but they've already made distinctions like, oh, if you've got a 128 gig phone, you can't record ProRes. I can't remember if that's the exact distinction, but they're already doing that with capacities. Yeah. So, yeah, they can still make a 128 gig phone and then say, well, this one can't do 8K or something like that. Hopefully not that messy. It's
not a pro experience. I hate that. But I really think that this year is my year to go to a 1 terabyte phone. Let me just quickly pull up my storage. I've had to actually monitor it. I'm at 483 gigabytes used on my phone.
Uncomfortably close to that 512.
I know. It takes one school play, recording that for an hour at 4K, and I'm out of space.
Only takes one toggle to turn on optimized media as well, and suddenly you've got tons more.
But once I flip that switch, my life will be a lie, and I'm gonna have so much free space, and I'm gonna. What am I gonna do with all of it? I have a 512 gigabyte phone. I might as well be using it.
I have to admit, local copies always win over cloud copies.
Yeah, they're nice. And I've lost that battle for all other forms of media. All of my files and documents and my music and everything else is in the cloud. But my photos and videos, I like being able to get to those quickly.
Just yesterday, I was battling with the iCloud photo library on my computer because that's got optimized turned on as well. Mm-hmm. But nothing I could do. I'd go back and find a photo and it would just give me the cloud error icon. And there's no recourse. I mean, you can quit photos, you can try and export it, you can restart your computer. It's just going to give you the cloud error icon. So what do? I guess I'll just go to my phone and find the photo and airdrop it to my computer and finally do the thing I want to do with it. And like, oh, come on. The photo's right. It's just download it. Sometimes it gets me worried that there's some glitch with the photo library and that the original doesn't actually exist anymore. But if I go to iCloud.com/photos or whatever it is, I can download it from there too. So I don't know. Just about the Photos app being annoying.
It's annoying, and it's just Apple's design choices. I just want to force it to download. Let me click a button that says, well, stop what you're doing, download the photos right now. I really need them.
Yeah, exactly. How about restart? Restart the download.
Yeah.
Because it remembers the error state and just doesn't try again until X happens. And who knows what X is? Is it a timeout? Is it the daemon restarting? I don't know. Actually, I should have tried that. Activity monitor and kill the iCloud Photos daemon.
Apple they try to be too clever about things. I was just complaining about this today. As far as it relates to CarPlay, which I love to complain about CarPlay recently. If you've got multiple garage doors, when you pull up to your house, it presents you in the multi-window CarPlay view with a button to open and close your garage doors, which is really convenient, but it only shows one, and there's no way for you to tell it which one to show you. So half the time I pull up to my house and it prompts me to open the wrong garage door.
Is it just a random pick?
I'm sure it's trying to do something clever behind the scenes, like maybe one was opened the most recently or something. But that's not always the case. I know, because I rarely open the other one. But there's just some times that it'll show me the wrong one, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Maybe you could turn it into a shortcut.
I mean, I can always just tell Siri to do it. I just wish that button that popped up was right.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah. Let me just choose a favorite or something. Anyway, back to the iPhone things.
Price-wise?
Price-wise, I already said it's going to be $100 more, and you said it was going to start at the same price?
No. I was not disagreeing with that. I think it will be more expensive. It's just the storage
tiers. The same storage, though.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep.
That would be very disappointing, but also very on brand. I think that there's going to be a purple iPhone this year.
Everything's coming in purple. Tim's favorite color. So, yeah.
Is that Tim's favorite color?
No, I'll just how do I say it nicely? It's the gay color.
Very nice.
All right.
It's what is it? The Lavender Society, right?
I don't know.
I'm really out of my depths here.
The Lavender Society.
The Lavender Scare was a moral panic about homosexual people in the United States.
Ah. There's an iPad case which has the color lavender.
All of their purple devices look really good. I'm excited to get a purple one if it is actually offered in that color this year.
Okay.
I've got the purple iPad, and I like that quite a bit.
Oh, I just thought of another topic.
Another topic?
Another topic.
I thought you were going to say you actually thought of another iPhone prediction.
I'm not that good.
So hopefully they do purple justice. Just take the iPhone 12's purple and put it on the like the 14 Pro, please. Because I predicted green for the iPhone 13s, and they did me dirty and chose a really ugly dark green and not like the minty green that I like. So I hope they choose a good shade of purple.
Navy green, as I've named it, is my favorite green.
Is that they call it Alpine green? Is that what you're referencing?
I cannot remember an Apple color name to save my life, so I'm gonna have to go and have a look to see what the heck Alpine green is.
That's their dark green on their Pro phones.
Dark green, yeah, navy green. Everyone knows what you mean when you say navy green.
Maybe. Navy's blue.
I know, but navy blue. Navy green is to green what navy blue is to blue.
Okay.
Right?
Well, I mean, words can mean anything if you just make it up, so.
Oh, man. On the non-pro phones, the colors are just... Green is just called green, so we must be talking about pro phones then.
Well, they're both ugly dark green. I think it was the 12 that got a really pretty minty green color.
Okay. Yeah, Alpine green, yeah. Look, just for the record, I think 13 non-pro green is a better green than Alpine green, but whatever. I don't think I'd ever buy a green phone.
The even darker green, you like that more, huh?
Yeah, dark as it comes, as long as it doesn't look black.
So presuming that the iPhones come in whatever colors they're offered in now, what would be the color of iPhone you'd buy today?
White, always white. Everything has to be white.
You'd never change from that, huh?
No, probably not. Unless it was a white that got dirty, that wouldn't appeal to me. But, white underneath glass, that's fine.
Okay. I really like my Sierra Blue this year. It's almost white.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it's just like a tint of blue. It's better than the dark blue that the 12 was offered in. I'm seeing a theme. I like the lighter shades of colors, apparently.
Yeah, you're trending towards white as well. I like it.
Yeah, or at least pastels. which are great until you get to the iMacs, and then I hate the pastel iMac colors. I wish they were much more saturated.
Okay. Actually, I told a lie before when I said I would buy everything in white. Yesterday, I bought a HomePod Mini, and it was in orange. That's because it was the one that was on special, but yeah, just for the record, in case that ever comes up again.
You bought another iPad. I'm so proud, or another HomePod. I'm so proud of you.
Well, both, but yeah, the HomePod most recently. I've been shopping recently.
Sounds like it.
Which one are you proud about most? The iPad or the HomePod?
I'm proud about the HomePod. I don't think you're making a dent in my numbers, but you're at least getting there.
They're making your numbers seem more normal.
I think I have 8 right now.
Okay, I've got a long way to go. In what, 5 years, I've acquired 3.
It's not bad.
I mean, it is much
easier. Are you
easier.
counting the one you returned because it was the wrong color or it was stained?
Oh, the stained. No, so 4, I guess, if you counted that one, but I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
It's much easier to acquire them now with the price of them. It's very reasonable.
What are the price? Are you talking about the price of the Mini, or are you talking about the special that you got for your Mini?
Both. I mean, the price of the Mini, just the RRP, very reasonable. Mm-hmm. And when you get them on special, they're a steal.
For sure.
So, let's see. Just in American dollars, I got it for about 75 American dollars. Very cheap.
That's really good. I'd buy one even if I didn't need it if I saw it at that price.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially an orange one. Anything that's not white and black are really hard to come by here. Like if I order one from Apple.com, I have to wait a few weeks, whereas the other ones are like next day. Yep.
Wow, it's not even a new product.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the colorful ones.
I'm just going to verify I did get the orange one, because isn't it orange and yellow?
Orange, yellow, and blue are the new colors.
Actually, see? I don't even know what color I bought. I got a yellow one, not an orange one.
The yellow ones look really good too.
Yeah. I think it's going to be the back veranda HomePod.
The what HomePod?
The out the back HomePod. But, on the patio, the area that's not exposed to the elements too badly.
Oh man, you got a lot of faith in your HomePod to survive the elements like that. I mean, I guess I keep mine I have two in bathrooms, and those survive moisture just fine.
The bathroom would be a worse environment, I think, than my back veranda for electronics.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you basically live in a desert.
No. No, it's coastal-ish.
That's true. Saltwater is very bad for electronics.
I'm not that close that it's going to get blasted by salt water, and it's actually an east-facing veranda, so it's not even going to get the salty breeze blowing over it.
Okay.
I think it's quite an alright environment for a HomePod.
Yeah, that should work all right. But it's well covered, at least, would be the big thing.
Yes, it's well covered. It's got many meters of coverage of veranda before anything, before open air.
Okay. So this is your third HomePod in the house.
Mm-hmm.
You have like a living room and a bedroom HomePod otherwise?
I've got a living room and a kitchen HomePod.
Ah, okay. You're missing out on the bathroom HomePod, James.
Yeah, I don't spend a lot of time in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not living in my bathroom either, but I do shower regularly.
Yeah, the weekly shower just doesn't require a HomePod.
Yeah, that's true. That's your few minutes of silence a week.
No, it is a bit like that though. The daily shower is an escape from the cacophony of having a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old in the house, as well as a wife screaming at them.
Yeah, that's true. I will say that I get less use out of my HomePod now than I did a few years ago when I didn't work at home, and I'd get up in the morning and I'd go take a shower, and I'd have the HomePod and a Google Nest, whatever I had in the bathroom at the time, would be like telling me the day's news as I was getting ready, and so I could go to work, because inevitably someone wanted to talk to me about whatever was in the news when I got to work, and so I was at least up to date on what's going on.
Yeah, that's handy.
Yeah,
I don't think I can even hear spoken audio over the shower and the fan going, the exhaust fan. I find that really difficult. In fact, I find the HomePod audio, whatever the EQ is, it's quite difficult to understand spoken word anyway, for whatever reason. That reduced bass toggle that they added some time back helped, but I still don't find it the greatest.
Really? I haven't had any issues. I felt like it was loud enough for me, but I've got young ears, so...
And you should keep them young, I think you should get some ANC headphones for mowing the lawn.
It is 100% on my list. Since our discussion a couple weeks ago, I'm already committed to I'm going to do that. I just can't, in good conscience, buy a pair of AirPods Pro right now when I know they're going to be updated soon.
Yeah, okay. Glad to hear it's on the list at least, because
hopefully they don't get announced in September, because my wallet's already going to take a hit. I don't need new headphones as well. But it is my birthday, so...
Actually, I'm going to do a little spot of follow-up right now, since we're all topsy-turvy anyway. So I told you last week that I bought the Anker Soundcore Q30 over-ear active noise-cancelling headphones. And I was a little bit disparaging about the audio quality from them. I said I wouldn't listen to music, and they were fine for kids. But I've played around a little bit more with them. And there's actually a Soundcore app you can get, and you can manipulate the EQ quite effectively with this app. And there's actually a little community on Reddit, probably other places too, of oh, here's my EQ, and here's my EQ, and how does yours sound?
Okay.
And EQ sharing community. It's mostly Android focused EQing, because apparently you can do heaps more and have way finer controls on Android, of course, for customizing your EQ. And like, people are posting walls of text filled with frequency adjustments at every whatever. But on iOS, you have like 6 sliders which you can manipulate. And I looked around for a bit and I found, the one that everyone said was the best. And I chucked that into the app. And these $100 headphones now sound amazing. Like, they do not sound
really
anything like the stock setup, which is like Soundcore Signature. No, that's rubbish. They sound absolutely junk with that EQ. But with this little manipulation, I would very happily take them over AirPods any day. I'm sure they would compete with AirPods Pro, not AirPods Max, because that's just another league altogether. But yeah, they are exceptionally good money now with a little bit of EQing.
Wow, that's pretty great.
Yeah.
These are over-ear headphones, right?
They are, yeah, like an AirPods Max style headphone.
Right. It reminds me of like a Motorhead kind of saying, which is there's no replacement for displacement, like in favor of big block engines or whatever. But the same mentality applies to speakers as well. Like they're cheap headphones, but there's so much, the drivers are so much bigger. There's no replacement for that. You can't get over physics. Those bigger speakers, assuming they're tuned correctly, are always going to sound better.
Yeah, right. I see what you mean. Yeah, it's quite an experience. Coming from little Gen 1.5 AirPod Buds for so many years.
Uh-huh. Well, that's great.
Yeah, it is
so
good.
You can pick up a pair for yourself too, so that the boys and you can use them?
Well, now I've got to get 3 more pairs. I've got the one, but
3 more?
Everyone needs a pair.
Oh, I thought you said you already ordered a couple for the boys.
I ordered one trial pair.
Okay.
And waiting for them to go back on special before I buy them. I've got until probably this time next month to place the order. So, yeah, no rush.
I mean, you're going to get a tax break on them anyway, so.
Yes, that's true.
Is that the motivation for your shopping spree in the last couple weeks?
It's part of it. It is part of it.
Yeah?
Yeah. Actually, sorry. I had one more thing to say about the Anker headphones.
Uh-huh.
Well, you know how we've talked about getting like that pressure feeling when you're using active noise cancelling on our ears? Mm-hmm. Well, I have tried these on for like hours at a time with ANC turned on, and I've not had any pressure build up. So either it's a factor of, actually you could tell me this, is it a factor of being on an airplane? Is that where you felt it?
No, I wasn't on a plane when I felt it.
Oh, okay. So maybe it's a characteristic of the headphones we were using. Or which ones were you using?
Bose Headphones 700, I believe.
Yeah, I got the feeling with some Bose headphones as well. Maybe it's a Bose
When
thing.
I was researching like what causes that phenomenon, I did see, I don't know how accurate this is, that prolonged exposure would eventually wear down those fibers or hairs or whatever in your ear that were sensitive to it, and it would eventually go away.
Okay,
it would get better. So again, maybe young years are doing me in.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Not too sure then. But yeah, just on top of that as well, the active noise cancelling is really good because I had them on, and at one point I was doing some photo editing and I didn't actually realize that the noise cancelling was on. And I was also just messing around with a few settings in Lightroom because there was this weird bug I was trying to fix, and I changed the setting, restarted Lightroom, edited some photos, and I was thinking, wow, I've completely solved the problem, and the performance is great, and the fans in my laptop aren't spinning. Whatever I've done, this tweak is amazing. 10 seconds later, I realized, actually, is the ANC on? And it was completely blocking the fan noise from my computer directly in front of me. Literally could not tell that the fans were spinning. So that's something to say for the noise cancelling in these sound cores.
Yeah, that's the exact kind of sound signature that ANC really shines.
Yeah, and hopefully it's similar to on an airplane.
Yeah, you at least be able to get like the drone of the airplane and the background rumble of just people chatting. That should all go away.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all I've got to follow up on those.
That's great. And now we've kind of beat all around it, but you also bought an iPad.
Yes, I bought an iPad.
What did you get?
I bought a white, aka Starlight, iPad Air, the current version with the M1, and just the top capacity, which is disappointingly only 256 gigabytes. That was a bit of a hard pill to swallow, because I certainly would have bought more if I could have. And naturally, I bought the one with cellular as well, because I always get them with cellular. It's not in my hands, so it's due next week, end of next week.
Okay.
Or this week if you're listening when this is released. So, yeah, I don't have a lot to say about it just yet.
Well, the first thing you might say is that that's not white. Starlight is closer to gold, I think.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't get that from the images on the website, but I guess it's close enough, or the closest one you can get to white, so I'm fine.
I might call it a champagne color.
Okay, champagne. Ooh, okay.
So what's the occasion?
Well, we needed another screen for the plane, because we only have 3 portable screens and 4 people. So obviously there are planes on a screen. There are screens on a plane as well, but we'd prefer just to watch the stuff we brought ourselves. So 2 phones, give them to the kids. Poor Paul is going to be watching on a 12 mini, but that's fine. He's small, so the screen can be small, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and 2 iPads now. So that was one reason to buy
a laptop too.
No, you cannot use a laptop on a plane.
Oh, sure you can. I've done it.
As soon as the person in front of you leans their chair back, your laptop screen's like at least at 90 and possibly actually folding towards you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fair.
How do you watch like that? You can't.
You just got to kick the person's chair until they sit back up.
How to win friends and influence people.
You can have Johannes do it or something.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, he's a 4-year-old. He's impossible to control.
Maybe if you set your chair up, you'll stop.
Sorry?
So you tell him maybe if you set your chair up, you'll stop.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, okay. See how that goes. Maybe you can try it on your next flight and then report back, and then I'll follow suit if it works.
All right. Yeah, for sure.
So I guess I've mostly been saying this year that I'm either going to get a new laptop or a new phone, and then also talked probably too much about how I'm pretty happy with both those devices. I think last time I left you, I was probably leaning towards buying a new phone this year, right? I think that's the last thing I said I would do.
Just replace the battery in your laptop.
Yeah, just replace the laptop battery. Actually, just replace the phone's battery as well, not that long before. The main reason I didn't want to buy a phone is I didn't want to get like the last lightning iPhone. I kind of wanted to have a USB-C, a really good USB-C device in my life, because I'm going to Germany to shoot a wedding, and I'm not going to bring my laptop. Like, my laptop's too big and heavy, and I just don't want to bring it. I wasn't going to. So having a USB-C iPad is just going to solve that problem for me as well.
How much longer until Yasmin needs a new iPhone, though? Like, could you buy a phone this year with the intention of giving it to her next year and you upgrade again?
You could do. But I kind of only want to buy one thing this year. And so I settled on the iPad. I really want to give Stage Manager a go. I know it's being absolutely destroyed by the Apple blogosphere. But I really want to give it a crack. See how usable...
That'll be nice. Have one of us be able to report on that.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it?
You could say you bought it for the podcast, call it a business expense, write it off, and then you're fine.
That's it. Already getting the tax back, and then it's a business expense on top of that. I was going to be stuck editing the podcast on my phone probably while I was traveling. This isn't the only travel I've got coming up as well. I've got Germany for 7 weeks, and then so I'm going to be doing probably a couple of podcast recordings while I'm there. I've got Sydney a month after that, and then I've got Sydney again a few months after that. I just needed something more usable, more functional than a phone, but not at the level of a laptop. I strongly considered the MacBook Air, and I did have some hands-on time with the MacBook Air. But at the end of the day, I already had a laptop, which I kind of think is better than the current MacBook Air in some ways. Obviously not in a lot of ways, but yeah.
Do you think you'll get the Magic Keyboard accessory to go with your iPad then?
Yeah, I'm really tempted to. I wouldn't get the ultra expensive one with the trackpad. I've had that one before. I hated the trackpad, but the keyboard itself is fine. So I'm thinking Magic Mouse plus keyboard accessory might do the trick.
Okay. Yeah. Mouse would probably help for the more precision edits or whatever you're going to be trying to do on that anyway.
Yeah, actually editing in Lightroom with the pencil I've done before, and that is a great experience. So yeah, considering the pencil as well.
Yeah. You got to get the pencil.
There's one thing at the back of my mind. What will be announced in September? Do you think there'll be anything announced that will invalidate or make this a poor decision, a poor purchase?
In September? No. I think we're going to see... I don't think the iPad Air is getting an update this year because it already got the M1 earlier this year. The iPad Pro and the base model iPad are going to get updates, but I think both of those are going to happen in like October or November.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I worried that the base model iPad would get some crazy update in September alongside the iPhone, but I mean, what are the odds it would get the M1 exceptionally slim? If anything, it's going to get the A14.
14 or 15, yeah, that's what I'd expect.
Yeah.
So,
also
iPad
got
Air is a
the...
good buy.
Sorry?
I said iPad Air is a good buy. I think you're safe with that one.
Yeah, okay. Glad to hear. Also got the Deep Navy Smart Folio. So,
okay.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes, considering now that I know the Starlight's edging towards champagne. May not be the most complimentary match.
Is this navy green or navy blue?
Well, it just says navy, so who's to know?
Who knows? I think gold and blue are a very good color combo. That was what I had for my iPhone 6. I got the gold iPhone with the blue case.
Okay.
And that was the last case I ever bought for a phone. All right. You had a whole bullet point in here for your MacBook Air Hands On. Was there more you wanted to say about it, or just
no? It's probably where else could I put it? It's not follow-up, but it's not really a topic either. So I went to the local stockist. It wasn't Apple. They had a very persistent salesperson who kept telling me about the 2020 ones they had in the back, like he was trying to move some old product, which was really annoying because I was just looking at it with Yasmin and he came up 4 times, I reckon, over the course of less than 5 minutes telling me about other computers that he had out the back. But anyway, it was the navy blue MacBook Air. It's absolutely covered in fingerprints. Looked pretty awful.
Midnight,
thank you. The webcam was pretty garbage, especially when the iPad Air was right behind me and you could switch to that and see how good a front-facing camera can be. But yeah, those webcams are still terrible. Same as on the 14 and 16 inch. So just terrible webcams. Apart from that, though,
camera.
Pardon?
So do you have to use the continuity camera with your iPhone?
Yeah, sure. Just got to have a $2,000 phone to plonk on the top of your $3,000 laptop to have a good camera, right?
I mean, it helps if you already have those things.
I don't know. It met my expectations, and my expectations were really high. It's very light. It's very thin all over. It's very fast. The keyboard's great. Actually, the speakers are awful. I was actually shocked at how bad the speakers were. Like MacBook Pros from 6-7 years ago have better speakers than this MacBook Air. I was, in a fairly noisy shopping environment, but they were not loud and they did not sound good. So that was a little disappointing. Not that a lot of people use the speakers on their computers, but when you need to, it's nice to have something that's at least a little bit decent. So I had the 14 and the 16-inch MacBook Pros there as well, and they sounded great by comparison, even in this environment. So I don't think I could say the environment was the cause for the MacBook Air speakers sounding bad. What else? Yeah, keyboard was great. Trackpad was great. Yeah, great computer. Notch was not noticeable, really.
No, yeah, I think if any device, the Macs hide the notch the best because of the toolbar at the top.
Yeah. The toolbar?
What is it called?
The menu bar, perhaps?
Menu bar.
Gross.
What is toolbar? Is that a Windows thing?
I don't know. Maybe.
I'm Googling it, toolbar. It shows me pictures of like Microsoft Word from 1990, so I guess it is an old... I don't know. Anyway. Yes,
but you've already seen it, so no questions, hey?
Yeah, I fell in love with it. Just can't justify it.
I'm still working on getting my employer to buy me one, by the way, so that also contributed to me not buying one and buying the iPad instead.
Yeah, if you're still working that angle, you got to hold out.
Yeah.
So it just gives you the chance to buy an iPhone. It's okay. What you really need to do is save your money for the Apple VR headset that's coming in a little bit.
Yep.
Because those are supposed to be like $2,000.
And VR's kind of taken a backseat in my life. It was so exciting for the first month, but unless I'm actually playing with a friend, I don't just get it out and play,
I'm pretty sure that I warned you. I was like, there's going to be a honeymoon phase, and then you're not going to touch it anymore.
You said exactly that.
That's why we're waiting on Apple to revolutionize it and give us a good reason to come back.
Just look, I'm telling you, just a really high res screen and in the Apple ecosystem, and it would easily have a place in my house over the Oculus, the Quest.
Right. Here's a follow-up point that didn't make it into the notes. Did you ever get a chance to play with any Apple Arcade games in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I did. How did I do it? I found a Reddit thread and someone had said, like, what are the most console-like Apple Arcade games available? And then I went and downloaded maybe a dozen, and then I spent half an hour just going through them, and at the end, I just thought, oh man, I'm not a gamer. None of these are fun. I also downloaded the one that you told me about, the Peggle-like one.
Round Guard.
Yeah, same thing. I played it for a bit and I thought, oh, I'm sure it's a good game, but I don't know. I'm just not having fun. There are so many other things I'd prefer to be doing than playing this. Yeah. The only games that get me are the ones where you're like, this probably sounds stupid, the ones where you're like organizing stuff, like mini motorways, you're like organizing the cars to get to the factory, or I don't know, like Plants vs. Zombies, you're like organizing plants to shoot zombies, and more arcadey type games. So I'm sure there are games out there that I'll like. I mean, there are, but I think I'm just looking for the wrong thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, you approached it the exact opposite direction I would have. Because if I was given a list of the most console-like games on Apple Arcade, those would be the ones that I would avoid.
Okay. Well, what would you search for then? And I'll give that a go before the next show.
Man, I don't know about a search word off the top of my head. Puzzle games?
See, I don't like puzzles either.
I guess it depends what you call a puzzle. Like what genre would you call Plants vs. Zombies? That's a game I like too. It's not a strategy game. Arcade. It's kind of a free runner-esque game. I like the free runner games. Like like tower defense kind of games.
Tower defense, yeah, I do like that sort of thing. I guess that's what PVZ is.
Yeah, kind of. Field Runner was always a good one. I don't know if that's even still a game that's made anymore in that category. Field Runners. I don't know. You just set me down with my phone and the New York Times crossword puzzle app, and I'll be happy for hours.
Maybe I should give that a go. What's wrong with that?
Try some crossword puzzles.
Crosswords. It'll be great.
Just don't try the New York Times one unless you're really sold on it, because there's like a very expensive annual subscription.
Oh,
the New York Times.
I wonder if there's an Apple Arcade crossword game. I'll have to look that up.
There might be. I kind of remember seeing one, but I feel like it had like, it wasn't just a crossword. There was like a gimmick to it to like make it more of a game, and I was not interested in that.
KCDC.
Do you know what that means?
Yes.
Okay. So I kind of alluded to it earlier. I've been doing a lot of running around the last couple of weeks. One of the things I did was I went out to the Kansas City Developer Conference for a few days.
Cool.
And attended some very interesting sessions. And a lot of these don't apply to us, but a couple do. One of the sessions I attended was called From Zero to Mobile Developer in 60 minutes with Swift UI.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I did not learn really anything new about Swift UI in there. It was very introductory, high level, how Swift UI works. But I was really impressed with the instructor, because in the course of 60 minutes, the presenter or whatever wrote an entire like mobile chat application, complete with, a back end to manage it and be able to message between devices. It was very cool.
Really? In 60 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Impressive.
Yeah, and it relied on, there was like no handlers or anything in the application at all. It was all based on state updates being triggered by the database. So like posting a message to the database would then like trigger a refresh on all of the devices of people you were talking with, and it'd load in the chat log with the new list. I'm doing a very bad job describing it, but it was impressive, and it was very few lines of code. So I was impressed with SwiftUI for that. I don't work with Apple stuff in my day-to-day, so I didn't attend a lot of Apple sessions. But one thing I attended that was very interesting was a session on the GitHub Copilot tool. Is that something you're familiar with at all?
No.
So Copilot is like an AI peer programmer that it's like built with on an ML model, where GitHub basically parsed all the code and then resulted with this plug-in tool for your development environments that would like help you write your code. And it is surprisingly accurate in guessing what you want to write and how you're going to write it. And I was so impressed that I came out of that session thinking like, this is probably going to be the future of my industry, writing software. And I should probably start learning how to use tools like this now so I don't get left behind. And after the conference was over, I came home. It's like a $10 a month subscription. So I subscribed to the Copilot. I put it on my work computer, and I opened up the code for one of the projects I'm working on. And I went to our backlog of work to be done, and I looked at like what the next assignment was. And I put a 5-word comment in the code about what I wanted to do. So what I do is payment processing code. And we're creating a new API endpoint to void transactions. So I put a comment in the code that says an endpoint that voids transactions. And it wrote all of the code for me immediately. And I was so impressed with it. This was like almost midnight because I had just gotten home from a conference. I called one of my coworkers at midnight and I said, get on a Zoom call with me now because I need you to review this code with me. And the two of us sat there and looked at it at midnight, reviewed all the code, and it was like exactly correct how it should have been written. This was like maybe a day's worth of work, but this AI tool wrote it in 10 seconds.
That sounds like actual AI. It's a computer writing code.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's a little scary, and it's a little like there's moral or ethical gray area around it because the model is built on all the code in GitHub. And some people are not happy. Like, it's the same with those AI image generating tools where it's like you're using artists' work as the sources for this model. And so they're kind of responsible for the output, but they didn't get credited. And same thing kind of goes for code. So ethically, I don't know what's going to happen there, but it's a very impressive tool.
There might be some problems to work out, but it sounds like something that just needs to happen, something that needs to progress despite any of these little niggling issues that people have with it. If it's going to ramp up code writing or ramp it down, really, if it's something that would have taken you a day and you've done it in 4 words.
Exactly. And it very clearly, like, it's not just building, it wasn't just writing it based off of what is in GitHub, because it clearly parsed the project that I was in, because it matched our style and our wording of everything, and even like commented lines with like the types of comments we would have written in those places, and it was dead on.
Wow.
So, yeah, a little scary, but very impressive.
And your coworker after this, was he like, never call me at midnight again, man. I don't care what it is. Or was he like, I gotta try this?
So the guy I called, he's the youngest guy on our team. He was an intern that I helped train when he started at the company a few years ago. So he's the young guy, and he's always up late. Like,
yeah. Okay.
seeing him online at midnight is not weird.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I reached out to him specifically, because I knew that he wouldn't mind.
Is this something that's built into the latest version of Visual Studio?
It's a plug-in for Visual Studio.
It's a plugin, okay. Doesn't just come along with it.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. I'm scanning the list of topics that I attended. Nothing else really applies to us. So those are my two things I wanted to share.
Okay, cool. I'm glad I know that this sort of thing exists now. It could have easily been something that went under my radar for a long time.
Yeah, you got to look into it. I don't know how much it doesn't seem like you do a lot of code writing in your day-to-day, but you should play with it.
No, day-to-day is nothing, but yeah, I certainly could play with it still. Alrighty. Time for some follow-up.
All right.
I just wanted to say about iOS 16 weather. You probably already knew this, but I wasn't 100% on it. I was more like 5% on it. But I said that when I upgraded to iOS 16, the weather was just awful compared to all the other devices in my house that were on the iOS 15 or similar. iOS 16 uses Apple / Dark Sky as the weather source, not the weather channel anymore. So it is a completely different weather source, and it was incredibly wrong. So that's, I think, what I've got to look forward to with iOS 16, unfortunately.
I wonder... That's so weird, because the impression I've gotten of Dark Sky over the years, even long before Apple acquired them, was that they were very accurate, like more accurate than the Weather Channel, because they were so hyper local. You could get down to the few minutes of like when rain was going to start and stop and things like that. But maybe that very specific hyper local weather is like really useful in the US, and then maybe their coverage outside of that is not as good.
Yeah, and that's what I came across. People trying to work out why it might be so inaccurate outside of the US, and people thinking that weather models are different outside the US, or just US weather models don't apply in Australia as well as they do up there. Yeah. Interestingly, you can submit weather feedback in the app.
Oh, really?
So I do wonder if they are training international models on the fly.
Well, you should definitely submit all the feedback you can then. I don't know what it is. Is it just like a text field, or have you tried it to see what the feedback form looks like?
Oh, no, I went back to iOS 15, so I haven't really had a chance.
Okay.
With beta 6 out now, though, it might be time to jump back on.
I would say the weather's been spotty for me too. The latest beta, my weather is working again, but in the previous beta 5, like my weather complications on my watch and everything were just broken. I couldn't load the weather at all. Siri couldn't tell me what the weather was. It just was broken.
Did your Siri come back to life with the latest beta?
Yes. Yep. Siri's back.
Nice.
For better or worse. And I had a little bit of smart home follow-up.
Okay.
It just seems like I've always got a few updates on how smart home stuff is going.
Well, it's been a little while, hasn't it? There's been at least a show since we've had any smart home talk.
Okay. Well, this is my chance to complain. I don't have any new devices. I'm just complaining about what I have.
All right.
I was sold this idea that thread communication between smart home accessories, which is kind of the foundation, the upcoming Matter standard, is like it's the way to do smart home accessories. And it's so much faster, and it's longer range, and it's more reliable and consistent. And I will say that the few thread accessories I have in my house are the least reliable devices I have.
Oh, okay.
So the few things I have a couple Wemo Stage remotes, or They mount on the wall in the place of light switches, but they technically attach magnetically, so I could pull them off and use them as remotes if I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
They're very nice, and they're the only things that it's got multiple buttons on the remote, and when you press a button, it triggers a scene in HomeKit in your home app, so I can assign multiple lights to a single button or a specific behavior to those buttons. So an example is like, I've got a lot of lights in my living room. I have the light built into like the main fixture on my ceiling fan in the middle of the room. And I've got a couple like light bulbs or spotlights, whatever, over the fireplace pointing down towards the mantle. And I've got a lamp. And instead of like having to switch all of those individually, I have a Wemo stage on the wall where you press one button, you can turn all the lights in the living room on and off with one button. Which was really convenient, and I liked it until my Wemo stages just don't work more than half the time. I've got a second one in my bedroom that controls like all the lamps, and I've got 2 closets in my bedroom, and it controls the lights in those closets, but it doesn't work half the time. And one of those closets almost never works because I have a smart switch in there that I'm toggling on and off that is also a thread switch that also just doesn't work most of the time. And
what do you think is the matter?
I don't know, because nothing is far away from like a thread router in my house. The switch and the remote in my bedroom are both I've got a HomePod Mini in the master bathroom, and that has a thread router in it. The living room also has like the new Apple TV 4K with a thread router in it. So as far as like distance to any of those devices, it seems fine. But I have no idea what would be causing them to be down or how to fix it or anything else. I did unpair and repair them to the home app once, and they worked after immediately being paired. But after like a week, they stopped working again. But if I wait long enough, like I literally tested them right before getting on this call because I wanted to complain, and everything was working again after not working for, it's probably been a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's the most frustrating thing about smart home stuff. Because it needs to work 100% of the time, or it's just worse than a physical switch, dumb switch. Is all of this stuff Wemo, or is that one in the closet something else?
No, it's a Wemo as well. And I was warned against the Wemo stuff. So that could be it.
Well, maybe it's time to find something else.
I alluded to this a minute ago, but the Wemo stage remote that controls whole scenes in your home with a button, nothing else does that, unfortunately.
Philips Hue, I don't know if that has any thread compatibility, or if you would need a Hue hub for that to work, but they have the switch with the magnet, which becomes a remote, and the buttons can do scenes. So maybe that.
Yeah, I've got the Hue hub. I've got lots of Hue light bulbs. I think it uses Zigbee, but it doesn't matter what technology it uses.
I think you're right.
The Hue stuff, it can trigger Hue scenes, but some of the switches, some of the lights and stuff I'm turning on and off are not Hue lights. So my home scene can incorporate smart lights from multiple sources. But if I was only limited to be able to control Hue accessories, then it wouldn't work for me.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about when I configured the switch. I think it was in the Hue app, not the home app. So yeah, that would not work for you.
So I'm hoping that it does seem like it might be related to like my HomeKit hub or whatever, because one time I was able to like do a full reset on my Apple TV, like turn it all the way off and back on, and my Thread devices started working again. So I'm hoping that maybe an update to the latest versions in the fall, when they're really trying to get Matter support wrapped up, could maybe tie up some loose ends with how Thread devices are working, and that could be the issue. It's not the end of the world for me, because all the switches on the walls are backups for guests in the house. I control everything with Siri, and that all still works fine for me. So it's not the most annoying that I can't use the remote on the wall, but I would like it to work.
I suppose we've only got like a month before all the new operating systems are out with the Matter support and all that. So yeah, it's probably best just to sit on your hands until then and use your voice instead.
Yeah. But yeah, I've definitely already gone down the same train of thought as you, because my Hue accessories have been bulletproof since I got them in like 2015. Like, they work. They're not quite to the Lutron level of working, but very close.
Yeah,
so I might
good.
go with Hue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can do your new sign off. I am James VDM, as always, on Reddit and Twitter.
And I'm Jellywoot on Reddit and D3 Codes on Twitter.
You didn't change the Reddit?
You can't. Reddit doesn't let you.
And you can find the show notes at reddit.com/r/bluebubblepod. We actually got another comment about watch wearing on the last show post. Or maybe one before that. Yeah. Coffee addict wears their watch so tightly that it distorts the muscles in their wrist.
I'm pulling it up here. Oh my
Definitely
goodness.
A lot of us on board the tight watch band train. That's the way to go. Loose bands sink ships.
I would rather have a loose watch band than like lose my hand because I've cut off circulation to it. Wow. Well, I know that we didn't touch on any Reddit topics. I don't have anything specific to talk about, or at least in depth, but I was scanning the subreddit right before the show started, and I found a post I thought was very funny, and I wanted to just share the title at least, which is ex-Apple Store employee Sam Sung auctions business card for charity.
Yeah, that's good.
Did you see that?
I saw the title. I didn't click into it. Did they get much money for it?
The auction's ongoing right now.
Nice.
But they've got like this. They got like the framed Apple employee shirt with their badge hanging down and a business card, and they've signed it. But yeah, what a great name for an Apple Store employee.
Yeah, that is.
It looks like this person had auctioned off a business card back in 2014, and it went for $2,500.
Okay. Nothing to turn your nose up at?
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't get it. Like, it's funny, but I'm not going to pay thousands of dollars for it. And if anyone would buy something that stupid, it'd be me.
Maybe someone bought it just for charity. Like
right,
charity dates, and you don't buy it because you want the thing.
Yeah, that's fair. So this bundle, I don't know what the previous, if he just sold his business card before, or if it was a bundle similar to this with his shirt and employee badge. But I'd buy it just to have like the Apple Store employee badge, because that's pretty cool.
So you could sneak in and start pilfering phones and watches.
That not to steal things, but like to walk into an Apple Store and people think I work there and like want to ask me questions about Apple stuff. I would love to stand around and talk about Apple all day with people. I think I've probably told this to you before.
Sorry?
I think I've probably told this to you before, but when I lived closer to a Best Buy, I used to walk into a Best Buy with a blue shirt and khaki pants and like help people for a couple hours at a time.
What? You're crazy. Imagine doing that for free. The people who are actually paid to do that, I bet most of them don't really like doing it.
No, and that's what frustrated me because it started with like over my lunch breaks. I worked like a block from a Best Buy, and so I'd go walk through the Best Buy and just look at whatever was out on display. And I got frustrated with the way employees were like explaining things to people or trying to upsell them or just like not knowing what they're talking about. And I didn't want to like butt in as like a random customer and be like, it's like, no, they're not, they're wrong or whatever. But I don't even think the first time was deliberate because a long time ago, I worked at Walmart. And so I had a lot of like blue shirts, like button down shirts and khaki pants already. And so I was just wearing something like that someday. And someone like came up to me and asked me questions. And then from that day on, I like deliberately wore that clothes into Best Buy and would just answer questions because I like talking about technology with people. That's why we're doing this podcast right now, James. It was just an excuse to chat with people and actually help people with electronic stuff. I couldn't like get stuff out of locked areas for them, but I could at least answer questions.
We need more people like you working these counters. And fewer of
this
the
world
people
needs more nerds.
It does. Fewer people that keep trying to spruik the 2-year-old model that they've got out the back that they couldn't actually sell.
Well, I wonder with your salesperson, like, do they actually have the new MacBook Airs to sell, or are they going to be like a few weeks, and so they're trying to sell you something that day?
Considering stock levels around here, it would be very unlikely that he had anything to sell.
Right.
That wasn't a previous year's model.
He's just trying to get you to buy something right there.
I think so.
That's the problem, though. Like things like Best Buy and stuff, you know, they all work on commission. So they don't have your best interests at heart.
No, they sure don't. Are you going to head back down to the basement now? Continue whatever you were doing?
Maybe. It's getting late now. But I was unpacking boxes and running more wires. I did another one of my temporary Ethernet cable runs through the vents.
Okay.
So just moving takes a long time, James. I can't believe I'm still unpacking.
If I had done it myself, I'm sure I'd be living in a house full of boxes, but the German attitude that Yasmin brings to anything that she does is do it and finish it before you do anything else.
Even if I had approached it with that mentality, there were so many blockers. Like I ordered a dresser months ago and it just got delivered a couple days ago.
No, okay.
So I've had like waiting for pieces to arrive so I could finish like unpacking and moving into it, and it's just been a slow process.
Well, I suppose you can just enjoy it and have that attitude towards it.
Yeah.
It can be fun.
All right. Well, I quite like the new format of not just going through a list of topics.
Sorry, what did you say about the new format?
I said I quite like it.
You quite like it? Cool. I just said, well, right on top of when you actually said the describing word, so I got everything else around it. Does he like it? Does he hate it?
No, I think that went fine. In fact, this looks like it's going to be a long show by our standards.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like the format. I thoroughly enjoy editing and listening back to it. Not that I didn't before, but I do more so now, just so we're clear.
This is kind of late for the follow-up, but you had mentioned that you were going to listen to a few podcasts. Did you end up doing that out of any of the recommendations of mine?
Yeah, only one of them. I listened to those two Southern guys.
Ear biscuits, yeah.
Ear Biscuits, and still subscribed. I haven't actually been doing a lot of podcast listening since we last spoke, but I did listen to maybe 3/4 of one of their episodes, and it was very entertaining.
Okay.
What was the other one that you recommended?
You said that it wasn't really up your alley, but it was called Where Should We Begin? It was the counseling podcast.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure I even subscribed to that. Let me just have a look and see if it's there. Or maybe they haven't put out a show. Where? Oh, no. I have subscribed, but... that's right.
I don't know.
When you subscribe in Overcast, it adds the most recent episode, but it was a part 2, so I simply deleted it, and they haven't published anything since then. So that's the reason I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, I don't even know how often they upload, because when I subscribed to that show a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago now, I went back to like their very first episode, and I'm still working my way through the backlog.
Okay. Maybe I'll take that approach then.
And I don't have much to report back on either. I think the one thing I subscribed to out of our discussion a couple weeks ago was I subscribed to the Connected podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not listened to many podcasts either. But I was listening to a podcast and it ended, and the most recent Connected podcast was the next to play in the list. And they came up, I'm like, who are these people? And I like closed it. I'm like, what's going on? But I have not given it a fair shake yet.
Okay. Takes a while to settle into a new podcast, I find.
Right. Yeah, that's my experience as well. As I usually like start off immediately not liking the personalities of the hosts.
Yes.
And get used to it. And you're like,
exactly.
Oh, actually, they're okay.